Welcome in, everybody. The bass is dropped. It's a Tuesday, but it's not a normal show today. We're digging deep into the MLS archives for another watch-along, and one that probably most of you have not seen. I know I watched this game live, but I don't remember it. It is 2006 Western Conference semifinals in Major League Soccer, Game 1 of the 2. Houston Dynamo hosting Chivas USA. Why are we watching this match? Couple of things, actually. It's young Brad Gazan with hair in his first MLS playoff match. That's an occasion to be celebrated for sure. It is Chivas USA's first ever playoff match, and they didn't have a whole lot of them. And you know, we're trying to do something different because there's only so much non-news that we can talk about in the soccer world at the moment. So we'll have plenty of these while we're all trying to figure out what's going on. And if you are listening live right now this morning, go to our Twitter page, @SoccerDownHere. You'll see the link to the broadcast. It's on YouTube. You can watch along. We'll kind of give you some cues on where the video is at different points. We're literally just all queuing it up about the same time and watching it together and commenting on what happens. So if you guys have questions as the game goes on, please let us know. Tweet at us at SoccerDownHere, at Longshoe, at OSG Nelson. We will get to those as we go. It is a conversation as we all watch Houston and Chivas. A couple things coming in so you kind of know where things stood here. This was a 12-team MLS in 2006. As John's trying to get it queued up, he'll probably be 5 minutes off during the show. That's okay. That's what we're used to around here. You had 6 teams in each conference. Top 4 in each conference made the playoffs, so 8 teams made the playoffs out of 12. Chivas USA finished 3rd in the West. Houston finished 2nd. The Dynamo were in their first year in Houston after moving from San Jose. This is the reconstituted original San Jose Earthquakes that were originally the San Jose Clash. Chivas played at the Home Depot Center. They shared it with the LA Galaxy, and the project never really took hold like people thought it would. But one interesting thing about it, in year 2 of Chivas USA, they were one of the top teams in attendance in MLS. They were number 2, actually, right behind the LA Galaxy. DC United was 3rd. So we'll take a look at the teams real quick as we come into it. For the Dynamo, you had 2 leading scorers with 11 goals each in 32 matches. Brian Ching, Dwayne De Rosario. Pat Onstad was the goalkeeper, one of the best in MLS history, a name that, if you don't know, he's one that was very strong throughout MLS. He was 38 years old at this point, but he was still one of the top goalkeepers in the league. Other keys for the Dynamo, Wade Barrett started 31 matches. Brian Mullen, 2 goals and 4 assists in 31 starts. Atlanta's own Ricardo Clark, couple goals, couple assists, 31 starts for him. Alejandro Moreno, who moved all over the league at different points in his career. He was in Houston at this point, started 30 times, 3 goals, 4 assists. Started up top with Brian Ching quite often. Ching had 11 goals, but only in 20 starts. De Rosario was the key for this Dynamo team, 11 goals, 4 assists. One of the other keys was out on the wing, Brad Davis, 9 assists and 24 starts. All right, let's look over at this team, Chivas USA. Brad Gazan was not the regular starter throughout the year. He only ended up starting 13 times during the season at 21 years old. Preston Burpo was your starter at 33, a veteran of the lower divisions. He played for the Seattle Sounders in the old A-League before coming into MLS. Burpo started 19 times, but it was Gazan who ended up winning the job as the year went on. He gets the start here in the playoff match. Other keys for Chivas. Leading scorer, Ante Razov, 31 years old at this point, 28 starts, 14 goals on the season. Next two were defender, 37-year-old center back, Claudio Suarez, Mexican legend, with 6 goals on the year. I do not remember how that happened at all, but he had it. Juan Pablo Garcia of Mexico, 24 years old, 29 starts, 8 goals, 5 assists. Jonathan Bornstein, who was really starting to emerge onto the picture for the national team around this time. 21 years old, 32 starts, 6 goals. You had a young core with Chivas USA. I think most people remember the Mexican internationals, but you had Bornstein at 21. You had a 20-year-old Sasha Kleshin who had 5 assists here. You had Gazan. You had some young players emerging. Francisco Mendoza of Mexico was 20, 3 goals, 4 assists for him. You had young players emerging with this team as well, alongside the idea of having, Mexican internationals to play for Chivas. Chivas USA was good in the early stages. I think they lost their way later on. But the early stages of the team, they put out some really strong teams and players that got their starts here.
And there's a particular 32-year-old for the Chivas roster that drew my attention in doing research for this particular match. And he suffered an injury earlier in the season, but was part of the focus for this game coming in.
And do you want to go ahead and share that?
Jesse Marsch.
Yes. Jesse Marsch was in the holding midfield for Chivas USA. 30 starts on the year. He was 32 years old at this point. Couple goals, 1 assist. Marsch, we know what he's gone on to do as a manager. As a player, he was underrated. He was never a star, and he was never among the best defensive midfielders in the league, but he was a very solid pro who played in a lot of places around MLS, and a lot of times you see those types of players are the ones who go on and have the great careers as a manager. Jesse Marsch, no exception.
Yeah, and that's just in doing the research for this particular game. That's one of those things you sit there and you go, I did not remember that. And so that was, when that came across, that was part of the instant drawing card for me here.
All right. I hope everybody is ready to get started here. The host of this on YouTube is Whoa So Nostalgia. A little surprised this one snuck in there, but cool, we'll take it. The title of the video is 2006 MLS Western Conference Semi, capital HOUV, capital CHV, Game 1. It is just under 2 hours. So it is the ESPN broadcast of this match. And we are going to get started. We'll give you cues throughout so you can try to keep up with us. If you're joining us a little bit later, you can speed up just a little bit and get caught up. But we're all going to hit play right about now. And you'll be able to hear it a little bit in the background from me. Glenn Davis on the call, good friend of the show.
Yes. Sierra missed one of your sponsors for your billboards in the back.
You're always obsessed with the sponsors.
I'm obsessed with things that are no longer around, being the nostalgia aspect.
Why you got to hate on Sierra Mist?
I wasn't hating on Sierra Mist. I was just commenting on the fact that they're no longer
around,
with us.
Actually.
They are? I haven't seen them.
That's what I'm saying. You're hating on Sierra Mist. Glenn Davis, Marcelo Balboa on the call. This was an ESPN2 broadcast. We've even got the scroll on the bottom.
A lot of games just getting underway in the National Football League.
Yeah, it's okay. De Rosario was so good in this league. He's a player that, right there from midfield. He's a player that I think at times doesn't get talked about as an MLS great. He should.
Yeah, constantly lacking in conversations considering everything that he's done.
Claudio Suarez, just an absolute legend in Mexico. All right, so this is the first game of 2 in the 2-game series, so it's only the 90 minutes. There's no extra time, no nothing here. We're even going to get the 2006 commercials. Good times.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like I said, that's part of the fun for me, is that it was getting the watch-alongs. You get to the commercials, and I get to hate on Sierra Mist. So that's, part of the discussion seriously. For me anyway.
I do not remember this Bud Light commercial.
No, I do not.
Okay. Oh, Radio Shack was the greatest. I was very happy to see when we were in Mexico City, 2 major brands that are making a return in Mexico, Radio Shack and Sears.
I'll give you a third that we don't get to see enough of here in this part of the world. 7-Eleven.
7-Eleven's fine, John. They're not dead. Radio Shack is dead. Sears is dead. 7-Eleven is thriving, just not in this area.
Which was disappointing to me. But the only part of 7-Eleven that was disappointing is that they didn't have any of the fountains where you could get your double gulps.
Oh, jeez.
And they didn't have any bags either. You had to carry everything out yourself.
Yeah, there you go. Bennigan's. There's another one that I think is completely closed down.
Yes, Bennigan's is no longer with us.
I like the Bennigan's, actually.
I did too, and because I remember the one that was here on the eastern side of town over at North Lake. Would go there a lot.
Yeah, there was one at South Lake Mall that we went to quite a bit. All right, so now you're seeing the Bayway car dealership. We're getting back into the broadcast now. 3:45 on the video. There is Brad Gazan with nice hairdo. It's been a while since those days, Brad.
Bennigan's has apparently relaunched as a franchise.
See, there you go. It's probably in Mexico City.
Well, let's check the locations. Oh, domestic and international.
Brian Ching with the bicycle kick on the highlights. Radio Shack sponsored the MLS Cup playoffs.
And the highlighted ball, like the NHL on Fox coverage.
Yeah, I think you're behind again, as usual, on the video.
Well, apparently, Bennigan's does exist in Mexico City.
MLS. Bennigan's exists in Mexico City. Is that what you're telling me?
And in Mexico, it looks that way. Yeah.
See,
and in Bahrain, the Bennigan's in Bahrain and Cyprus. Veracruz, Campeche, Veracruz, Mexico. So it's very popular apparently in Veracruz,
Mexico. See, this is
Mexico.
What happens when we do a watch-along. John gets distracted by not even shiny things.
We're in commercial. We're looking at 2006 commercials, and so I went down the 2006 commercial rabbit hole and found out that Bennigan's actually re-exists.
Ay, Dios mío.
So what commercial are you on?
5:30 on the video. Motel 6.
Oh, okay. So I'm right there with you.
Good job.
Scratching that Motel 6 record.
All right, here we go. Radio Shack presenting the MLS Cup playoffs.
Cal State Dominguez Hills and Carson, they hosted the 1984 field hockey tournament for the Olympics.
Okay. There's your Jesse Marsh injury.
Look at that elbow.
Yeah. Concussion last week in the regular season finale, playing here. Maybe a little bit different concussion protocols in 2006.
Yeah.
Maybe not a great thing there.
How many fingers? Close enough.
Which kit you like better, John? The Dynamo orange, white, orange, or Chivas red and white stripes and the navy?
I got to go with the orange for the Dynamo. I think for me, the Chivas is a little too busy.
A little too busy? It's stripes.
Well, but then you have the numbers and you have to blend in. You have to think through it all. I got to go with the basic. See, you got stripes down the sleeves, but then you got the larger stripes on both sides, the front and back of the kit. It's like, come up with one stripe style size. Say that 10 times fast.
Okay. That's Dave. Davis was so good out on the left for the Dynamo. Always one of those guys who was right on the edge of the national team and never got, I think, enough play with the national team.
Agreed.
Close up a young Brad Kazan.
With follicles this time.
Yes. It's a poor corner from Davis.
Flat and easily cleared. Alex Passine this morning says, "Oh man, Bennigan's Monte Cristo, here I come."
Ooh.
The Monte Cristo sandwich, very underrated if done well.
Also very underrated, the long throw gets all the way to the top of the 6.
Okay, legitimately, how far is that?
Well,
Are we
the
talking?
field is 70 yards wide, so it's halfway.
35-yard, two-handed pass.
So it's all Dynamo in the first couple of minutes. We're at 1:52 on the game clock. Davis with a free kick out in the corner. To the near post. Yeah, flag went up anyway, so not 100% sure what the flag was up for, but El Guzano, as he was known during his time at Chivas.
Did not know that.
Yeah, he was a fan favorite. That's pretty poor. The diamond midfield for the Dynamo, and then 2 up top. It was Dalglish who got the start up top in this one.
Noticed that.
This is a good Chivas team. Quick.
A quick team on that. It's grass surface at Dominguez Hills.
It's the Home Depot Center.
At Cal State Dominguez Hills.
I know, but it's always been grass. It's never been a non-grass surface. It's where the Galaxy have played forever. Or at least since they left the Rose Bowl.
Whoa. Hands are up. Hands are up. They were wanting a handball.
All right, there's the Chivas lineup. Lawson Vaughn was the right back, another player that I thought was going to turn into maybe a little bit more than he did. Bornstein was playing in the midfield at this time. Vaughn was another guy that was a young player kind of coming through at Chivas, and I thought he was going to turn into a bigger player. He's 21 at this point. He only had 11 starts during the season.
You mentioned Ante Razov in the Open. I'd forgotten that Razov was at Chivas.
Oh, yeah. He was one of their first top players. So this was the second year of Chivas USA. It started bad for them. They were 1-8-1 in 2005 when they got their start. Thomas Rongen was the first coach. He was let go. They kind of bounced around. You had an interim in Javier Ledesma. Then Hans Westerhoff was the second head coach. He didn't come back. Bob Bradley was hired in November of '05 to start the 2006 season, and it's where you got this 10-9-13 on the year, third in the West, and the following year they were the runners-up in the Supporters' Shield, and they were the regular season number 1 seed in the Western Conference. It's a good look from Vaughn. What a ball from Lawson Vaughn. Oof. Bornstein with a rocket.
Just wide. Hips open up a little bit and slice with the left.
The ball from Vaughn right there.
Ooh.
On a dime to Razov, and he's able to find it.
Subtle, quick pleat, pass.
So good on the ball. Chivas USA just so comfortable in possession.
That's Ante Razov right now.
That might be Lawson Vaughn calling. Paul Dalglish, who's now at the Miami FC, coaching.
Not to be confused with any other Miami FC.
Well, they are the Miami FC. I'm just
Miami FC.
Following the proper branding.
Oh, yeah.
So Vaughn is also a player with local ties. I thought this was true, and I wanted to double-check. He attended Lassiter High School in Marietta, played in college at the University of South Carolina, transferred to Tulsa for his last 2 years of college, and then was drafted by Chivas in 2006. 48 appearances in his time with Chivas, went to DC United in 2009, played 3 times there, only ended up with 51 professional appearances. This was his rookie year, and you saw the quality on that long ball to Razov.
No doubt. The more that we see Dwayne De Rosario here, it just reminds me how underrated and underappreciated I think he was as a talent in the league.
Well, same for Ante Razov right here. Had the strength. He had an incredible left foot, but he had some strength and speed as well. He's an assistant with Bob Bradley now at LAFC. He's been an assistant with Seattle and with the Galaxy since his playing career ended. This was his last stop in MLS. He stuck around with Chivas through 2009. That was one of those crosses that almost turned into a shot from Jesse Marsh.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So that was a cross shot and not a shot cross.
Yeah, because he's trying to cross. Razov ended up with 114 goals in his MLS career, 262 appearances. Most of them for Chicago in 2 different stints.
Yeah, that's the Ante Razov that I remember as the Chicago Razov.
He's a guy that Bob Bradley always liked. You know, he had him in Chicago, he had him at Chivas, he has him now with LAFC. The year with the Metro Stars, that was also with Bob Bradley, 2005. So a favorite of Coach Bradley.
Dominic Kinnear, close up.
You'll notice Preki on the bench as well next to Bob Bradley. He went on to become the head coach at Chivas USA. The Bradley Preki Chivas USA squads were really good. After that, it all fell apart.
Loved Preki as a talent. Hardest thing for me was trying to figure out how to pronounce his last name.
You didn't. That's why you just called him Preki. That's what he was. He was Preki.
Radoslavjevic or something like that.
He's Preki.
Two words. Dallas Sidekicks. Yeah, you're seeing early on.
He never played for the Dallas Sidekicks, John.
I thought that he was coaching with the Sidekicks.
Preki never played for the Dallas Sidekicks.
That's what I'm saying. He coached for the Sidekicks.
No, he's not listed as a coach for the Sidekicks either. Preki is currently an assistant with the Seattle Sounders. His indoor days were Tacoma and the St. Louis Storm. His career, Preki's career is just incredible. He went from Red Star Belgrade, where he didn't break through, came to the United States to play indoor in the Major Indoor Soccer League for the Tacoma Stars, then went to Sweden to play in 1990, then back to play in the MISL with St. Louis Storm, then goes to Everton from the St. Louis Storm, then back to the indoor days of the San Jose Grizzlies.
Yikes. Did not remember that.
Then Portsmouth. Then to MLS with the Kansas City Wizards. And then he spent a year in Miami, went back to Kansas City. Incredible talent.
Sorry, I got Preki confused with Tattoo.
Yeah, completely different players there, John. One's Brazilian, one is definitely not.
Portion of the match presented by AM/PM Mini Mart.
Oh, that's a good ball, too, to switch it up. 12:35 on the game clock. Scoreless. Chivas, in my opinion, looking like the better team, although Houston's maybe had a little bit more of the ball.
Yeah, work down the near side. Looks like they're winning all the battles against Siriu of Houston.
All right. It's early, so it is time to crack open. This broadcast is sponsored by the Coca-Cola Energy Cherry flavor.
With or without sugar?
Oh, with sugar. Referee not calling a thing. Bounces off the player on the ground. I like it.
Nice idea, but 3 Dynamo players there to defend.
Paco Palencia, legend at Cruz Azul, came to Chivas. This was his last year at Chivas. He was there the first 2 years of the club. Then he went back to Mexico and played for Pumas for a long time. Played through 2011.
Oh, wow.
80 caps with the Mexican national team. I don't think he's currently, I think he would have left them in the last year. He was managing at Lobos Buap. Yeah, the Capitan de Chivas USA. Look at the outside of the right foot, or outside of the right football there across the top of the 18. That's nice.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Chivas just looks more dangerous. I like the swagger that they played with.
Yeah. I mean, Houston taking them too long to get settled in. They always seem to be on the back foot here.
Well, some of that is Dominic Kinnear, and some of that's the way they're built. They're not built to be a team that's on the front foot. They're a counter-attacking team. They're also a safe team. I mean, that's how dominant Kinnear teams historically were. Like, these Dynamo teams and his Earthquakes teams before they moved to Houston were more open, and a lot of it was because of De Rosario and his talent. But as things progressed, you saw a team get more and more secure defensively, which is a good thing, but really lacking that initiative going forward. You know, you can't fault Kinnear. I mean, he's one of the greatest managers in MLS history. He won the MLS title in 2006. He won it again in 2007. He got to the final in 11 and 12 and lost to the Galaxy both times. He had a Supporter Shield winning team with the Quakes in 2005, this team before they moved. So, I mean, the guy won. The guy was a top manager in this league. He's still an assistant in the league now. But I felt like over time he just got more and more defensive, and the game kind of changed a little bit. What a back heel. Penalty? No penalty?
Well, he ain't calling nothing.
I don't know about that.
Letting them play.
Still on it.
Letting them play.
No VAR in 2006, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, this is just letting them play. This is short of no blood, no foul. I mean, we've seen in the first 16-plus minutes here that there's a lot of physicality that's going to be allowed.
That's a pretty big turnaround to go from winning 4 games the year before to the playoffs in the next year. And yes, it was kind of easy to make the playoffs, but they didn't get in as the last team. They were the third team in the West. And they went to, a regular season title and second in the Supporter Shield the following year. So it's a big development for Bradley. Oh, what a ball. What a ball to spring that, but then Razov cut back in too heavy of a touch.
Oh,
it's great from Wade Barrett, but Bradley's beside himself. The ball there.
It's gorgeous.
That pass into Razov. And in the first, that touch is good. It's the right decision. It's just too heavy. Precky's furious.
It's like he's like the smile on his face, and then it's like, God, dog.
Palencia's not having that break from Clark.
No. Professional foul. And he's like, no, he leaned into it. Little tap on the back. Ricardo Clark not happy.
Yeah, but you can't give a yellow card the way this game's been called so far.
No, not at all.
I agree in principle, Marcelo Balboa, but not the way this game's been called.
Yeah. Since there haven't been a whole lot of flashes out of the pocket, you can't just start doing it now.
That's a good ball down the line. That was what made these Dynamo teams of this era was Davis on the left and Brian Mullen on the right. You had 2 good wingers, provided good service. You had Brian Ching up top, a big target. You had Dwayne De Rosario underneath. That 4-4-2 diamond with those 2 wingers. It was a wider diamond than we see now. Generally, when you see a team play a diamond midfield these days, it's a very narrow one. That's an easy save for Gazan. Dynamo played it wider, so it was a back four who kind of stayed at home a little bit more. Ricardo Clark in front of him, and then the attacking three. It was honestly, I mean, it's a diamond on paper, but it honestly plays more like a 4-1-3-2.
Right, I was going to ask.
I mean, if you want to get into putting numbers on things and naming it that way, that's the way I would call it in today's setup. But a 4-4-2 diamond in this way at that time was still pretty common.
Now, when you have this quote-unquote 4-1-3-2, that's to basically spread the field out and get the defenders to create space in the middle?
No, you're not trying to get defenders to create space anywhere. You're keeping your 4 at home for the most part, and you're defending with 5 and you're attacking with 5. You're not. It's not like today where we see our outside backs bomb forward and take chances. They can't, because the midfield's going to get overworked. And it's why you don't see the Dynamo with a lot of possession, because Ricardo Clark's by himself. He's separated from Dwayne De Rosario. They don't have anybody to play off of. So the way you counter that, if you're Chivas USA, you want to get a couple guys in the midfield there, 2-on-1 against Ricardo Clark, and you want to combine through the middle. And you've seen them do it, and that's where they've had success. Because look at how separated the Dynamo are, even right now, just in the build-up phase.
Yeah.
You don't have short combination plays.
No.
So you're asking Dalglish to work really hard and try to come back and give you numbers when you need it. You're asking your wingers to come back and help a good bit when they can. It's the opposite of, the whole idea here in Atlanta with when Pity Martinez, Ezequiel Barco were out wide, and it's like, oh, well, they've got to come back. They've got to come back. If they were in this team, yeah, you'd have to, because that's the way the team's built. You wouldn't have any help in midfield if you didn't. The way it's built now, no, you're not asking them to do that. You're going to get cover. Oh, that's a rocket from the right side.
Once again, just hips opened up a little bit too much. He's like, ah. Missed it by that much.
Chivas was it was an interesting idea to try.
Yeah.
2005, you needed teams to come into the league, and you got Real Salt Lake as one of the teams that came in 2005. That got you to 12 teams. You needed somebody to come in. The owner of Chivas de Guadalajara, Jorge Vergara, wanted to do it. It was worth a shot. Like, the idea was a good one to try at that point. What didn't work is, you have to understand about Chivas. Like, yes, Chivas is a club that is beloved in Mexico. They're the club in Mexico that only plays Mexican nationals. If you've declared, like now in the world of dual nationals, if you've declared to play for another national team, you can't play for Chivas. They'll get rid of you. So you've seen young, like, dual national American or Mexican Americans go to Chivas in the academy, but if they decide to play for U.S. national teams, Chivas will then get rid of them, because they've stuck to that. There's a few clubs around the world that stick to that. They're one, and they're beloved in Mexico because of that. However, they're also hated by fans of other teams in Mexico, and it's the same here. So I think the thought was that you'd have all these Chivas fans who would support this team all over the country, and you got some of that. But you also had, in Los Angeles, where you needed people to buy tickets, Club America fans couldn't support Chivas USA.
Right.
Cruz Azul, Pumas fans, which were huge, bigger clubs than they are now, I think. Monterrey and Tigres have really stepped up now. But fans of any other club, they wouldn't buy Chivas USA stuff because it's related to Chivas. So it was a good idea, but the fan base wasn't potentially big enough for that to work.
Yeah,
because Mysterio almost got caught.
Yeah, for me, the idea of bringing in Chivas USA, understanding MLS needed franchises, understanding that you wanted to bring in, audiences, that kind of stuff, and trying to attract folks to your product, I got it. But the polarizing nature of Chivas was the negative of all of this. It's like, yes, you're bringing it in. Yes, you're exposing Chivas and its play and its brand and its popularity to an American audience. But the polarizing nature to me was one of the things that you had to take into account as well.
We'll go back to this one. You see De Rosario drift out to the right. He was so good at creating an overload in those moments because he could go out wide and play, and he had the speed to play out wide and be effective. He would pop up in those spots. He'd kind of drift, and at times he'd drift in and out of games. He'd kind of forget he's in there, but then he'd pop up in a dangerous spot. And these years in Houston, I think, were his best in the league. He had started to really put it together at this point. In San Jose, when he first came in, he was a little bit more of a super sub. 2005 was when he really started to feel it, but he was a conductor of the game at times here, and they built the team around his ability to do that. It was basically he's in a completely free role behind Ching. He could go wherever he wanted. Dalglish did a lot of the running, even as a second forward. He was dropping in to do a lot of the running, and you wanted De Rosario on the ball in key moments, and he was so good for them in those clutch moments. One of the most clutch players in MLS history.
How underappreciated is Brian Ching as an MLS talent?
Very. I mean, you're talking about one of the best goal scorers in the league's history. He's not flashy. I mean, he was a player that would blow your mind with, skill moves, although he does have, bicycle kick or two in his back pocket. Okay, here comes Chivas. We'll get back to Ching in a second. Attack was snuffed out. So Ching, in almost 300 games in the league, or as a professional, 122 professional goals. Spent some time with Seattle on loan in the A-League when the LA Galaxy couldn't quite figure out what to do with him. Spent a year with Seattle. Good year for them, 16 goals in 25 games in 2002. This is second division Seattle Sounders. Then came to San Jose, and his first 3 years with the Quakes and Dominic Kinnear, 56 games in 3 years, 25 goals. It was when they moved to Houston that he had 56 goals in 169 games, and it really started to all come together. National team, he was a guy who was very similar to Brian McBride, not quite as good as McBride, so he was always, kind of second fiddle behind McBride. And then, when Ching got his time where you'd think maybe he's going to be the guy, that was when you started to see the emergence of a young Josie Altidore. So, 11 goals and 45 appearances for the national team is good. It probably could have been better, but he just was going up against two of the best ever forwards for the United States in McBride and Altidore.
Because, you see Brian Ching and you see his talent, but you never hear the mentions of Brian Ching more than anybody else.
He gets lost in the shuffle a little bit because he doesn't have like a bunch of those, goals of the year nominees. He doesn't have any of these huge goals. This Houston team, workmanlike's not fair, but they weren't an incredibly flashy team. They weren't the Galaxy at this point. They weren't one of the big franchises, and they don't get enough credit. I mean, you've seen as this first half has went on, it's right at 29 minutes now in the match. Houston started out a little bit under pressure, but they just kind of wore you down.
Yeah.
And they started to take control of the game a little bit, and now it's really 50-50.
Seen a lot of Houston guys back defending against Chivas, and Chivas with the occasional break, but they can't take advantage of it when they do get behind the defense. Steelers and Falcons are still early in overtime right now.
Oh, well, that's good to know.
Yes.
Marcelo Balboa, very looking into the future right there, saying he wanted to see Bornstein play as a left back.
There you go.
The Chicago Fire are very happy that Balboa said that in 2006. He will be the left back for the Chicago Fire.
Yep.
This season. Nice work by Mendoza. I do not remember referee Jorge Gonzalez very well.
No. And once again, Jorge Gonzalez not calling a whole lot of nothing.
So Francisco Mendoza came to Chivas USA as a 19-year-old, started 20 times in 2005. 2006, this season, he had 3 goals and 4 assists, 31 starts. Played 2 more seasons pretty regularly for Chivas. And then where did he go? I think he was one of the Chivas de Guadalajara players who came up who wasn't getting that opportunity. And he went back to Chivas, never broke through with Chivas de Guadalajara. He spent time on loan with Chiapas, with Club Tijuana, with Juarez, came back to Chivas USA for a little while on loan, played for Santos in Costa Rica, then went to Leones Negros, then Delfines. So after his time at Chivas USA, he really was just a journeyman, and it's a shame. Really talented player.
Only 5 goals after that initial run with Chivas USA.
He wasn't a big goal scorer, but just a really talented player out wide.
Panchito. Houston just getting back again. Snuffing out anything that Chivas has in mind.
I mean, Houston was always a defense-first kind of team.
Mendoza team records for minutes played and most games played.
Chivas trying to find a way out of the right side, and they do. That's good work to open it up.
I mean, it was 5 Houston players that were there as a part of that and found a way out.
But that's the whole point. You want to draw players to one side and switch it to the other.
Yep.
The old school MLSnet.com.
Wow.
Strength of Palencia to hold off defenders, keep possession.
When San Jose moved to Houston to become the Dynamo, what was the initial response in Houston? Do you remember?
I mean, you look at the attendance the first year, and it was okay. 18,395, so that would have put them 4th in the league that year. So it was good. It got better over time. They had a big misstep because they were originally not going to be the Houston Dynamo. They were going to be Houston 1836.
I remember that, yes.
You see that, and you're like, oh, well, why 1836? And it's like, oh, well, that's the year that the city was founded. Oh, okay. But then you realize that it was, a year that I can't remember the whole details about how Houston was founded, but the Mexican-American community in Houston did not really care for that name very much at all. And it created some big issues. And there were logos that were released. I believe there's some T-shirts floating around that were made at the time. Oh, Dynamo almost got one. So that kind of stunted their growth at the very beginning. It took them a while. Winning championships in their first 2 years kind of helped.
Yes.
That's interesting defending from Wade Barrett, and he got away with it. It looked like he just dove to try to throw a
cross-body block.
Actually, he didn't hit him. It's not a cross-body block because he wasn't trying to hit him. He was just trying to make himself big and create no way for Garcia to get around him, and he got away with it. I mean, it's obstruction.
Oh, the Houston 1836. It was the year Texan independence from Mexico, and the logo apparently also had a silhouette of General Sam Houston.
Okay.
And the Hispanic community equaled the 1836 with the War of Texas Independence, and so there were protests.
Yep. It's a bad move.
Are those vuvuzelas that I hear in the background?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's nice from Brian Mullen. Missed the final ball, but the move to create space was nice.
Yes.
Falta, por favor. Yeah, you got to give a yellow there. That was kind of cynical from De Rosario.
Isn't that the first whistle that we've had?
No.
Well, it's the first card, obviously, but I don't remember a whole lot of whistles from.
You see the replay, you know why it's a card.
Yeah. Cool.
All right, so we're at 37-15 on the game clock. Still scoreless. Francisco Mendoza had some great hair. That's why he should have got more games in MLS.
El Salto, Mexico. Good idea from Dalglish. Didn't come up with anything.
What was the good idea? I don't understand.
Just the step over and continuing over. Ball goes one way, he steps over the other to continue the possession.
Okay. I don't know what game you're watching at this point. Dalglish just earned a foul.
Voice of Alan Hopkins.
It's a hot one. First game of the playoffs in Carson, California.
No doubt. Carson is in a part of L.A. County where it's almost in a bit of a bowl, and it is in the flatlands, so it does get a lot hotter there than in some of the other cities. I mean, you could go 10 or 15 minutes north or south, completely different.
All right, so now Mendoza has a card as well. Oof. It's a huge save by Brad Gazan.
Wow. That's it. I was looking at this on the Twitters as well yesterday, where I think it was a goal of the month from the Premier League with Michael Essien, and folks were wondering why you don't have more shots from outside the box.
Because people yell at people when they shoot from outside the box, remember?
And people yell wanting folks to shoot, too.
Yeah, but when people miss from outside the box because it's low percentage, because it's not easy to do what Dwayne De Rosario did. It's not like anybody can just say, oh, I'm going to put that bending into the far post from 30 yards out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's easy. And then when people miss that or put it over the bar, it's, oh, that's such a wasted opportunity. That's why you don't see as many shots from outside the box. It's a low percentage shot There's certain players that you will give them those opportunities, but it's not something you want to base your game around. I don't know why anybody would say, why don't we see more shots from outside the box? Because every time you do, people complain. That free kick from De Rosario is the greatest free kick I've ever seen. It's from 2005 against the Galaxy. I remember watching that live and just, like, I think I went into the floor. It's the greatest free kick you've ever seen. Like, give me a better one.
I'm thinking, and I'm not really coming up with a whole lot.
There's not one. It's better than Roberto Carlos's the other way, which is really freaking good, because De Rosario hit that so hard that it is got such an incredible right to left bend on it, but still going up as it hit the net. Impossible to save.
Can you think of anything from Messi that would have compared?
No, Messi doesn't have free kicks like that. No. Messi's not his free kicks are good, but that's not what he's known for.
But yeah, that Di Rosario, ridiculous amount of both pace and movement. And that's the first time I've seen that. That was ridiculous.
How have you not seen that free kick before? It's in every MLS highlight package.
Well, then it's probably been so long since I've seen it.
Okay. I think it was just making the rounds on Twitter the other day.
Probably.
That's good from Brad Davis, pulling it back, earning the free kick.
Nice.
The foul happened because he pulled it back around him and kind of embarrassed him.
Yeah. Well, Brad Davis is another guy that you don't hear enough of, I think.
He's another one who was just, not quite in the national team picture. And that was generally, when guys became superstars, it was because they were national team players. And Davis, only had 17 caps for the national team, and it was kind of later in his career where Klinsmann used him a decent bit. 41 goals and 271 appearances for the Dynamo. Played almost 400 times in MLS on the whole. But assists, he was one of the best. He had 9 assists this season. Career highs of 14 in 2011 when the Dynamo went back to MLS Cup. He had 10 in 12 and in 2015, his last year with the Dynamo. Ended up with 102 assists in MLS. Just a great left foot. Oh, game's getting a little chippy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice move.
Oh, advantage, okay. Oh.
I think you're delayed again.
I am. I'm about 4 seconds behind you.
Yeah, there you go. Free kick for Palencia. That's nice from him because he knows that Serio's coming from behind. So he just puts on the brakes, holds up, takes the hit, earns the free kick right on the edge of the 18.
Serio just puts up his arms. It's like, nope, didn't do anything.
Yeah,
wasn't a whole lot behind it. Didn't, one of those.
Yeah, that never really works.
No. See, and being 4 seconds behind you, if I risk going 10 seconds forward, then I'm ahead. Now, I would rather be slightly behind than sit there and anticipate and go, ooh.
Kefsi was a little disappointed to not have Valderrama with Tampa Bay on, but was happy that Goose's hair was part of the consideration. What a goal for Chivas. Pat Onstad's not happy about it.
Oh.
Don't think it's going to matter.
He's like, what?
What a goal for the Goats.
Pat Onstad is going after the AR. It's like, yo, dog, he's shaking and baking. Why didn't you call something?
What are you talking about?
Onstad going back and forth to the AR. It's like he's trying to do this shimmy shake move to the AR to explain what the heck was going on from his...
There's nothing going on. It's a beautiful free kick. I don't know what he's complaining about.
That's what I'm saying, but Onstad goes to the AR and he's like running all the way over to the far side to explain...
I'm going to quote you. He's going to the AR and saying he's shaking and baking.
Yes.
I don't understand what you're talking about.
Well, Onstad goes over to the AR, and it's like he's trying to do some shimmy shake nonsense.
There's no
and
shimmy,
it's just
shimmy. There's nothing. Like, that has nothing. You can't complain about a shimmy. I think he's complaining because it was taken too early. Nothing to do with shaking or baking. It doesn't matter. He got a yellow card, and it's a goal. Chivas USA got the 1-0 lead. I have no idea what Pat Onstad was complaining about.
I don't either. I'm just saying that he stormed over to the AR at the far side.
I know that, John. I'm laughing at you saying he was complaining about somebody shaking and baking.
That's what he was doing.
No, that doesn't make any sense. There's no logic to that. Dynamo trying to find something, and they run out of time.
Joey Harrington had 62 pass attempts on this day.
Good for Joey Harrington. That's probably one of his best days in his career.
Yeah, 33 of 62. And the frustration of the Dynamo, and Brad Guzan and his hair are wandering off.
I still want to know what Onstad was complaining about.
I know. I think he was complaining about one of the...
shaking and baking. That's what he was
the shaking and baking of a player.
Which is... I don't know why you would complain about that, because that doesn't even make any sense. I think you broke me with that comment.
Oh, Sierra missed Jim Gaffigan. Tracy Morgan talking about Sierra missed. You got to try this now. What are you doing?
Your Tracy Morgan and your Stephen A. Smith are pretty much the same thing.
And they're not?
No, I don't think so.
I think Stephen A. is an angrier Tracy Morgan.
I don't know. I never got that sense.
Is that Kathy Griffin?
Yes, that was a Kathy Griffin appearance. Kefsey likes your shake and bake reference, which made no sense.
See?
Hey, AR, he's shaking and baking, man. You can't do that.
Shaking and baking, man. That didn't need to happen. Shake and bake.
Of course, this guy has no idea what Bluetooth is in 2006.
Oh. I don't know.
Do you know
Radio
what
Shack
Bluetooth is, John?
And their 35,000 associates? Yeah, Bluetooth is that thing you stick in your ear.
No, it's not. You maybe need to go back to 2006 and work at Radio Shack.
The remote capabilities of a wireless device. Oh, that was such a 7-foot basket for a dunk in this commercial. That shot's so missed.
Probably.
And now the boss has Bluetooth capabilities with her phone and being able to do the phone inside the car thing with the Bluetooth.
Okay. You might have been able to get a Radio Shack job in 2006.
No. I would have ended up sending folks to other establishments like Fry's.
You would have been about like Chris Fowler at the home goods store in the commercial we just saw for Game Day.
Yes. Or Corso working the Dustbuster.
All right, the gallery furniture guy is not as good as the Wolf Manor Donna, I can tell you that much.
Was that the guy that bet like $3 million on certain NFL props and lost and doubled down and lost again?
I have no idea.
I think there was a guy in Houston that did a bunch of bets on the Roman numeral Classic. He lost and then doubled down and lost even more.
I didn't come get it. It was the Super Bowl that he bet on.
Yes. Broadway across America. Oh, the Rockettes, sponsored by Washington Mutual.
No,
Eli Manning he completed passes.
See, there you go, hating again. The man won 2 Super Bowls. Show Eli Manning his respect. Chivas had cheerleaders, which I forgot about. That is scary mascot, too. All right, I think we're going to get some highlights of other playoff action.
Friend of the show, Glenn Davis.
DC and the first year of the New York Red Bulls. That's nice combination work on the football field at Giant Stadium.
Those lines.
Wah, that flick is nice.
Yes.
People get way too worked up about football lines. I don't like them, but it's not the end of the world. Old school Colorado Rapids logo. Rapid Man, yes!
Bobby Boswell sighting.
Rapid Man. Sorry, Bobby Boswell. It was freaking Rapid Man.
Is Rapid Man making a comeback?
Yes. Oh, off the bar. Oh, nice goal from Terry Cook, the former Manchester United player.
Ooh.
Good I think
follow.
He was offside. Wow, this Colorado-Dallas game was nuts.
To those hoops, man.
Dario Sala. Dario Sala liked to wear the alternate jersey in goal. So he didn't wear like a goalkeeper kit. He'd wear the team's other jersey in goal as much as he could.
And Chicago and New England, no highlights shown, but Chicago won 1-0 from the goal in the 35th.
DC was coming off of a title in 2004. They were knocked out, I think, by the Revs in 05. It was either the Revs or Chicago, and they didn't get back to the final in 06. It was New England. This was in the midst of the New England's Buffalo Bills-esque run where they just kept getting to the final, but they could not win the thing. Oh, the goal of the year voting.
Presented by Sierra Mist.
Yep. Brian Ching one's going to get a lot of votes.
Yeah, I got to go with Ching.
Freddie Adu.
So next Sunday at 6, or are we going to do a game 2 with Red Bulls and DC United?
No, I don't think that one is available to watch. The old school MLS logo.
Major League Soccer LLC, all rights reserved. Copyright 2006.
More ridiculous commercials from 2006.
Oh, the last thing you need is a sprinkler system that goes inside your bedroom window.
That's kind of bad planning.
Plasma. Panasonic Plasma.
Who did the Motel 6 commercials? Tom Bodett?
Yes, Tom Bodett at Motel 6. We'll leave the light on for you.
I forgot Motel 6 and Tom Bodett was doing MLS commercials at that point. Uh-oh. What old school video game footage are we getting?
Oh, no.
Old school FIFA.
FIFA 2006.
Mexico against England in that action. That's 2007,
England.
actually. Geeking Fonseca, who's on two-day NA these days. Oh, the recreation of these these great moments in his Gatorade commercial. I forgot about this one.
I still think that Jambi was safe.
Really? You're going to hold on to that
Jeter. I think so.
You have a bad tendency of doing that and arguing things that make no sense.
And this surprises you how?
It's a waste of time. He was out. Everybody knows it.
No. Jambi was safe.
No, he wasn't. You're wrong and wrong and wrong. I think the U.S. Soccer Foundation still has the Passback program. It's a great program. A lot of clubs have started kind of doing that on their own, where you can give them gently used equipment that they can pass on to other players or pass on to community organizations. If you're out there listening and your kids play, check with your club and see if they have a program like that. We had clubs that partnered with us at Soccer in the Streets that did that, and it was a huge, huge help. The Manning Brothers ESPN commercial.
Yeah, and Cooper playing straight man the entire time, not paying attention.
What he does.
But you got to give Peyton a lot of credit for hitting that shot
your
at
New
the
England
end of the
Chicago
commercial.
highlights.
Completely on square.
Yeah, good for him. I'm really happy for him. Free kick for Chicago. Ooh, what a free kick. I agree with Eric Winalda. The wall was terrible. Mississippi soccer legend Justin Mapp with the free kick.
Oh, wow.
Stone and Winalda calling the game.
Hambone purist Rob Stone. Career started in Albany, Georgia at the Fox affiliate down there.
Oh, that's right. That was actually a big story in the playoffs. Was Dempsey got hurt in that one and was not 100% going into MLS Cup. Because the Revs kept winning. They kept getting through, but they were not at their best in this MLS Cup because Dempsey wasn't 100%.
When you look at the run that New England had, the Bills-esque run when it comes to level of success in MLS history, where would you put New England as a franchise with that run?
I mean, you got to put them, as one of the best runs in MLS history because of how many finals they got to in a short period of time. But you can't put them at the top because they didn't win one. I mean, it's hard. You've only had a handful of back-to-back winners of MLS Cup. It's really hard to stay on top. And that's something that the Revolution were able to do even though they couldn't get the wins that they needed. You go back and you look at it. So 2002, they lost at home in the final to the Galaxy. 2005, 6, and 7, they lost in the final. Every one of the finals they lost was by one goal or on penalties. The Galaxy one in 2002 was golden goal. 2005, it was extra time. 2006, it was penalties. And 2007, it was a 2-1 loss. I mean, it was very narrow every single time, but they just couldn't get over the hump.
And that was why I wanted to ask the question, considering the run that they were on, where would you put them, even though they never won their last game of the year in that run?
Well, I mean, I don't have a ranking of it off the top of my head, but DC at the beginning is one of the best with 3 wins in 4 years and 4 straight finals. It's a different time when you only had 10 teams in the league, but you win 3 titles, you have to give them some credit. And they lost in the 98 final. The Galaxy's run from 11 to 14, where they won 3 titles. And you can even stretch it back to 2009, where they were in 4 of 6 finals and they won 3. That's probably the best in modern times, although Toronto and Seattle have to be in that with what they've done in the last 4 years. You know, Seattle's won 2 and been in 3 finals in the last 4 years. Toronto's won 1 and been in 3 of the last 4. And Toronto's got a supporter shield to go along with it and a Canadian championship. They did the treble the year they won it. So those are the gold standards. I mean, the Revs are in that conversation because of what they did, but they don't have a win, so you can't put them ahead of any of those.
Right.
You know, this Dynamo team, they won back-to-back, and in 2005, as the Quakes, they were Supporter Shield winners. You'd have to include that in it, and you'd put it ahead of the Revs. You could even go back and include the 2003 one because that's, you know, the same club essentially where they won 3 of 5 and they had a supporter shield mixed in. You know, that era is as good as any we've seen in the league. He fooled him with the shake and bake. See, that's what Pat Onstad's talking about.
The up and the over. You see, Onstad's like, what? And he goes zooming past to the AR to talk about the shake and bake.
About what? This is what I want to know, what you thought he was upset about.
I think that Onstad thought that somebody was offside.
It's a free kick.
But jumped the wall and got in ahead of everything.
That doesn't even make sense.
That's what I'm saying. His whole protest didn't make sense, but he did the shake and bake.
He did the shake and bake. Okay. That's... Yeah. All right. Second half. Brought to you by Shake and Bake. It's at 1:09:15 on the video. We've not kicked off the second half just yet. If you are watching live, you are joining us wondering what in the world's going on this morning. It's a Watchalong 2006 Western Conference Playoffs, Game 1. Houston Dynamo on the road in Carson, California against Chivas USA.
Yeah, and the other reason that I would
save.
The other reason I would have to go with the Houston Dynamo jersey is because of the gold numbers going with the red and white stripes for the Chivas USA jersey. It's just that I can't read it. It's too distracting. I got to go with Houston.
The gold numbers. I'm with you on that, but the reason I don't like this Dynamo kit is they kept messing with the shade of orange over the years.
Yes,
this is the shade that I like the least. I like the more creamsicle orange that they went with later.
Yeah, this is
off the rack orange. This is just like
bright.
We need a kit and throw Houston on the front. And yeah, we just moved from San Jose and we had to change our name already. So we had a name and we had to change it. So this is what we get.
Yeah.
Oh, he was looking for that volley.
Thought about it, got caught.
Somehow I think you keep getting further behind. I don't know how your technology works.
Not very well, apparently.
I'm guessing. Oh, look at Brad Davis in tight space. He got a free kick.
Yeah, great work against the 2 Chivas defenders there. Cook, Davis, Cunningham, and Gomez. 3-way tie with 11 assists.
Cook came into Colorado. He was part of the Manchester United generation that came up, but as a right winger coming up at Manchester United at that time, and Beckham had already moved on to Real Madrid by this point, but Cook had left Manchester United a long time before this. He was behind Beckham on the right wing. He's not going to play.
No.
He's a good player. He just never could find his way there, bounced around before coming to Colorado. It's a good get for the Rapids. He had a great right foot.
Looks like Atlanta won in overtime against Pittsburgh.
Oh, that's good. I think I remember that game.
Morton Anderson with the game-winning field goal.
He was like 75 years old at this point, right?
Yes.
We have a Chivas player down after a pretty nasty challenge, it looked like.
Yeah.
Wade Barrett would leave a mark on you.
Leave a little bad news for everybody.
Oh, jeez. Young Sasha Kleshin warming up. Oof. God. Barrett with the studs up high catches him below the knee. It's like, oh, no, that's fine.
Yeah, and then the initial, it's like he stands up and then all of a sudden, damn, that hurt. But yes, the continuing trend of not giving cards unless something really serious happens in front. Not a whole lot of whistles.
Out to the right side. Guzano had that covered. Took a deflection.
Yeah, had the near post. Wasn't going to be beaten on that one. Yeah, those Dynamo jerseys do look like that they had something done in a hurry by Adidas.
Oh, they were generic. Easy pickings for Brad Gizan.
Yep.
49:30 on the game clock.
Did El Guzano go to the short sleeves here in the second 45?
He might have. Who knows? He might have cut them off. It was hot. It's a good ball from Bornstein. Pat Onstad quick off his line to shut it down, but that's a nice ball from Jonathan Bornstein.
Good shimmy shake there by Onstad to close that gap.
Shake and bake, you mean?
That too.
He came out and he shaked and he baked.
Was 05 Keeper of the Year, though. I did not know that Onstad was 2005 Keeper of the Year.
Pat Onstad's a great goalkeeper. That should not surprise you a bit. Canadian legend Pat Onstad.
Let's see what Chivas has in mind for the corner.
Tried to get to the near post, but I think that was Barrett who won that instead. The sponsors for MLS national broadcast have moved up just a little bit since 2006.
Agreed.
Sierra Mist, Motel 6, Red Roof Inn. Jumped up a little bit in quality here in recent years. Lawson Vaughn overhit that one a bit.
Yep.
a good question from Glenn Davis, because
What?
when Houston got stretched out, they weren't built to play that way. They're not a fast team. They're not a big athletic team. They're not a very expansive team. Like, they're best when they keep the defense tight. They create opportunities out wide, and Mullen and Davis win their 1v1s, put in crosses to Ching, and then De Rosario can make magic happen when the opportunity comes. Like, if they try to get out and play in a track meet, they can't play that way.
Right.
Yeah, see, 18 fouls.
12 by Chivas.
Make that 13 by Chivas after that one.
That looked like Ricardo Clark just lost his footing there.
Nah, he got tripped.
Okay.
Gave Mullen a lot of time, but he did not make the most of it.
No.
Dynamo keep possession. El Emperador Claudio Suarez gets the block, but Dynamo just kind of pinning Chivas in.
Yeah. I was going to say, I mean, the defensive effort here by Houston.
Yes. Brad Gazan did switch to the short sleeves. He didn't cut them off.
He didn't go Belichick for his second 45.
He probably would now if he wanted to. He was still a youngster at this point. Oh, Dynamo just win that one back quickly.
Yes. Oh. Good idea by Houston. Yes.
Add another foul.
Serio just looks like he's having a lot of problems trying to handle Chivas, whether it's trying to maintain possession to create something for Houston, or when Chivas' speed is on his side.
It's speed. He's not trying to maintain possession for anything. I mean, Houston wasn't a team that's trying to build up attacks out of the back. He's just trying to get the ball to somebody else as quick as possible. But it's speed that's going to cause him problems because he was not fleet of foot. And you didn't have, like, big number 9s for Chivas that he'd be defending. You had, Razov, who was quick. You had Mendoza popping up. You had Palencia popping up, who were quick guys. That's a tough matchup for a player like Adrian Serio.
And Ricardo Clark has been hit a couple of times in quick succession here by Chivas. .56th minute in the match, Chivas leading 1-0.
It's been all Houston in the second half. And
yes.
that right there is exactly what Houston does. Brian Ching just wins the long ball, knocks it down, plays it out wide, makes a run into the 18, looks for the cross. The Chivas USA had great hardcore support. It's just the way that they were built, they were never going to get the big-time casual support.
Yeah.
It's nice from Mullen. When Mullen and Davis could kind of combine like that, they were creating problems when they could both come inside a bit, when that diamond would narrow up a little bit.
Good defense, though, to create the corner, keep the ball from going inside the 18.
all Dynamo.
Yep.
Right at Brad, but it's another big opportunity for Houston. I mean, they were always going to be a team that would dominate on set pieces. When you have a forward like Ching, you're just trying to put in crosses to him, but to get that much space on the back post, oof.
I mean, no one was near him. I mean, you're talking at least 6 feet between him and the nearest defender.
But it recycled. I mean, this is... You can't just pull out the nobody's near him because you have to talk about why. The play kept recycling, and you lose him. It's one thing when on a straight-up cross you don't mark somebody, but that's one where the ball's moving, and you can get lost in that. That's why you don't just put in the first cross every single time, every opportunity. That's why sometimes you go from right to left, or something Atlanta United's done a lot that I think some people think is a mishit cross, but I think it's by design. A lot of times they'll hit a cross from the right side, we'll start there just as an example, and play it over everybody to the left to somebody coming in on the back side, not on the back post, but over everybody. And then they're going to look to put a ball back in because the defense is dealing with the first cross. They're like, oh, it's overhit. You lose that focus for just a second, and then you put another ball in, and that's when players get open like that. It's not purely bad marking. So stuff like that Houston. Is a little different.
Yeah.
I hated these. If I was a coach, I would be throwing microphones.
Oh, the in-game interviews?
Yeah. I mean, I know from a broadcast perspective, like, oh, it's really cool. Yeah, let's do this. But if you're a coach, you want nothing to do with this at this point.
Absolutely. I mean, it is an annoyance, and that's why for me, you get more value out of listening to what's going on the sidelines and telling the folks upstairs what's going on as opposed to talking to a coach who's in the middle of trying to figure out strategy and either, and in Bradley's case, preserve a 1-goal lead after the first 15 minutes of the second half. Because if you were going to try to grab Dominic Kinnear in this situation, I'm fairly certain he would be more focused on trying to get an equalizer instead of trying to give you 45 seconds of what he's seeing out there in the second half.
Doesn't matter the situation. They don't want anything to do with it. You don't want to be bothered at that point. Both of them, like they did the Kinnear one in the first half, and you get nothing out of it. So, kind of a waste.
Yeah, that's what I said. I would rather listen and report as opposed to interviewing a coach at that point.
Brad tried to keep that one in after the deflection. No such luck. Another corner for the Dynamo.
Let's see what Davis has in mind.
That's easy for Brad. Chivas coming down the left side, looking to combine. They got to get some possession going. You can't just keep getting overwhelmed by the Dynamo. At some point, they're going to break through.
It's just great defending by Houston.
What was so great?
Just in what you're continuing to clamp down, and you're not giving Chivas any room to breathe. Chivas wants to try to get things done in the middle third as we're watching, and Houston just isn't giving them that opportunity. It's suffocating right now.
Oh, this is the first time they've actually had to defend in a while. I mean, that's what I'm getting at. Houston generally is a strong defensive team at this point, but the last 15 minutes, they've had more of the ball than they're accustomed to. They've just kept it in the other half. Because when they had to defend against a team like this, Chivas could give them problems. Oh, that's nice from Razov. The little dummy from Ante Razov.
Yep.
Panchito. Nobody home. You got to remember, too, this is the year 2 for Chivas USA. Year 1 under Bradley. They're a pretty young team. Like, you're going up against a team with a lot of veterans. I mean, Davis, Mullen, De Rosario, Ching, this back line for Houston, Ricardo Clark. They'd all been around the block a few times. So they're not, like, Houston's not overwhelmed by being down 1-0 on the road in the first leg. Chivas probably feeling the pressure a little bit in the second half as well.
I mean, I would think traditionally that you would be feeling that pressure because you want to take care of business at home is the best way that I can describe it. You're focusing and you're locked in on trying to preserve the 1-goal lead in this case.
But sometimes you get too locked into preserving a 1-goal lead as opposed to going to find another goal. And that's a problem teams will get into, especially when they've been in a situation for the first time. Oh, that's De Rosario just leaving somebody for dead. What a ball. Oh, did Brad get him? Did Ching take a dive?
Oh, it looked like Brad got him.
Gazan's saying it's a dive. Referee is
goal kick.
Very unclear. Oh my God. Jesse Marsh just got megged and he's dead. And De Rosario somehow finds more speed. It's a great ball, and I think Brad got him. I think Brad fouled Brian Ching and got away with it.
Dominic Kinnear's like, he got him. Where's the call?
I don't know how Brad got away with that one.
And everyone in a Houston Dynamo branded piece of apparel is asking that same question.
That one would go to VAR and be given a penalty. It wouldn't be a red card now anyway because he was trying to play the ball.
Right.
But, yeah, that'd be a penalty. I think it was inside the box. We'd have to see it again. Like, it was right at the top.
I think it was.
I think it was inside. If it was outside, it'd be a red card.
Right.
I'm pretty sure it's a penalty.
So the next time we see Brad, do we ask him about that?
We might have to. Yeah,
do you remember?
Oh, I'm sure he remembers. Marcelo Balboa is correct.
What did Marcelo say?
He said that I don't know what you have to do to get a penalty.
True.
See, refereeing's been an issue in MLS from day one, just like it is in every league around the world because everybody complains about referees.
See, now you've got me looking forward to the next MLS watch-along.
Because of referees?
Just because of how everything is. It's like since day one, it's like, okay, so what's the next one? Do we get any consistency? Do we go further back?
You're just looking for more shake and bake moments.
I am, no doubt. Maybe we had a shake and bake moment from Brad there.
No, no. Now I don't even know what you're trying to say by shake and bake moments. That's just a flat out penalty. That's all it is.
Actually, I'm only going to make sure that shake and bake moments are stuck with Pat Onstad.
Yeah, it's probably a good idea. Oh. Well,
Speed from Chivas again. Good bump.
No, that's not a good bump. It should have been a foul the first time. It's definitely a foul the second time.
Yes.
Lawson Vaughn could run past Brad Davis all day, every day.
But once again, you're sitting there and you're trying to figure out, what you can get away with this particular official. Not a lot of cards.
All right, we're going to go to the bench for the first time. The 67th minute mark. Probably 68th by the time they actually get on the field. I think Juan Pablo Garcia does not want to come off. Sasha Kleshin. Young Sasha. He's so good when he broke through at Chivas USA. Oh, Garcia's ticked.
Yes, he is not happy.
Coming back from an injury, Bob Bradley knew he needed some fresh legs on. And this is back when Sasha Kleshin could run. Oh, great delivery to the near post.
Oh, tremendous. Bob Bradley excitable.
That's the most dangerous ball when it's a free kick like that from that kind of distance. To play it short and get that quick header, it's so hard to deal with. Garcia's begrudgingly happy about it.
And get a harumph out of you. But that's great placement.
Yeah, it's Sasha Kleshin, his first touch with the ball. Is it Mendoza?
I think so, yeah.
Panchito. Oh, nice celebration. No, it's Palencia, sorry. El Capitan. Sasha Kleshin steps on the field, puts that free kick in, and it's 2-0. That's where you're like, yeah, that's the substitution that you're looking for. Bob Bradley's a genius.
He punched all the right buttons.
Yes, that would be the cliche to use. Correct.
Yes. Jorge Gonzalez, by the way, according to Pro, currently listed as a video assistant referee.
Ah, very nice.
Made his professional debut, Columbus v. Colorado, May 13, 2006.
Ah, so year one for Jorge Gonzalez.
148 appearances through the end of the calendar year in 2018 as a center ref.
That's a long run as a center ref. And it's good to see that he's involved as a VAR still. That's good.
Eastern Conference Championship 2010, Western Conference Championship 2011, fourth official for the All-Star Game 2011 and 2012.
See, this is where if you're the Dynamo, you're looking at it like you got the second leg at home. You'd like to get one. You can't give up a third.
Right.
And that's a tightrope to walk, because what's more important to you? And it's probably different for every team. Like, there's teams who would be in the spot and feel like, man, we got to be really careful here and not give up a third, because I don't know if we can get that many at home. But then there's also teams, and again, like I said, the Dynamo won the 2003 title when they were in San Jose. They were the Supporter Shield winners in 2005 before they moved. You know, it's a confident team. So they could take their chances a little bit, and the way this game's played out in the second half, I mean, that goal was against the run of play. Dynamo have dominated the second half, so you don't have to be too afraid if you're Houston in terms of conceding a third. You probably feel like you're more likely to get one than concede one. And you bring on Alejandro Moreno to try to do that. You get another bigger target up top, Moreno and Ching, so now you can get a little more direct and kind of do a little bit of both, because that fits your style. That's how you play. But also, you're not going to get caught in possession in your own half. You're gonna play direct. You're going to look for the knockdown. You know, Moreno and Ching both fighting for it, and you're going to try to make things happen that way.
Kessie in this morning saying Bradley and Gazan totally balled since this game. Guessing Brad via shake, and Bob be a bake. Goose rattled Ching pretty good.
Yeah, Goose got away with one. He absolutely got away with one.
So, Brad, back in 2006, when the Western Conference semi,
they'd be like, oh, yeah, I got him. Yeah, I got away with it. A little combination play from the Dynamo. Brian Mullen. He's shaking and baking.
Yeah. Oh, look at that. That's tremendous work.
What's tremendous? It was a bad cross.
No, I was talking about the shake and bake. I wasn't talking about the cross.
I forgot you're delayed.
I'm about 3 seconds behind you.
You keep getting further behind. It's
No,
strange.
I was 5 seconds behind earlier. Now I'm only 3 seconds behind.
I have no idea. Brad Gazan goes up, grabs that one.
Short-sleeved Brad Gazan.
Here's the controversial play again. Dwayne De Rosario. Oh, no, that's not it. Sorry. This
Full
is the
highlight package.
Yeah, they caught Glenn Davis by surprise. Pat Onstad
There's your
yelling about shaking and baking, which I still have no idea.
There he goes. There's Onstad going, What are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah, no.
It was a short game recap.
Shaking and baking.
But now later in that, if they had let the tape go, Onstad was
well, they couldn't because Dwayne De
doing
Rosario was
the
doing
Reggie
Dwayne De
Miller
Rosario things.
Shake and bake.
It doesn't matter what movements Pat Onstad was making. You don't complain about shaking and baking on a free kick.
No, you don't. That's why
I had no idea why you said that. Pat Onstad was not drunk at the time.
No, but he was doing his Reggie Miller complaining.
There's Brian Ching at the near post. That's how quickly it can happen, ladies and gentlemen.
Gorgeous.
The Dynamo move it out wide to the right. Mullen opening the field up. Low, hard cross. He just gets in between two. The run from Ching there. And Brad gets beat at the near post. He's not going to be happy about that.
No.
But Ching gets inside of Suarez to get to the ball. Gets in between the two. Brad gets beat at the near post. You don't want to give that up, but that's a great run from Brian Ching and a great ball from Mullen.
Yeah, I mean, slowing it down initially, I thought that it might have been an OG, but then you see that Ching got the contact in there and beat Brad to the near post. And the one thing that I did not know about Ollie Moreno is that he went to UNC Greensboro.
Oh, very nice. So Balboa said he said that Houston's a possession team. They're a possession team in a different way than possession teams today we think of. Like, for me, they weren't a team that wanted to possess it in their own half. They weren't a team that wanted to possess it by building up out of the back. They wanted to keep you in your half of the field. They wanted to kind of pin you in.
Yeah.
And work it from side to side, and especially work for those kinds of balls. Mullen and Davis could just stretch the field wide so well. So now the game state's different. Chivas has given up one. They really want to go find another one, but this is their first time in this moment. How scared are they about giving up a second? Do they have that young swagger of going to find one? You get young Stuart Holden checking into the match. Brian Mullen,
wow.
That's how he finishes things off. Mullen's gassed. Holden was such a good player for these Dynamo teams. Really young in his career before he went to England. 21, just breaking through. He could play out wide a little bit. We never really got to see what Stuart Holden would have turned into as a player because of injuries, but great technique, and everything was there for him to be a really important player for the national team, at the club level, everywhere, and injuries just completely derailed his career. Interesting conversation with Glenn Davis and Marcelo Balboa about Holden coming in.
Yeah.
He typically played centrally, but now that you've got him in the mix, it's different for Chivas to deal with because, his natural inclination is to kind of come inside and combine a little bit. That opens up the right flank, but it also creates it's hard for a team to adjust defensively when somebody changes that way. So you're so used to Roz off almost. But you're so used to having to worry about Houston working the ball out wide, putting in crosses. Well, now Holden's not necessarily going to play that way. So you kind of get stuck in terms of habit of dealing with, okay, I got to be real. If you're the left back, I got to be really focused on staying out wide and defending this guy. Oh, wait a minute, now he's come inside. What? Sometimes subs like that can be really, really effective in changing a game just by changing the personality of a player in a spot.
Holden Clemson and came over to Houston on a free from Sunderland. Then with his time in Houston, 88 appearances and 15 goals in his 4 years.
Okay, so it's a little more complicated. Holden, I'd forgotten about this until you mentioned it. We'll get to it in 1 second. Holden was pressuring there. Chivas trying to play out of trouble. They just can't. Houston was so good at winning possession back and at this stage where they could get numbers forward and just have numbers around the ball. See if they put in a cross here. Gets headed over. That's a good ball from Holden. Moreno didn't have a great look at it, but
good chance.
So Holden played 2 years at Clemson. He signed with Sunderland in early 2005. In March of 2005, he was attacked outside of a bar in Newcastle because he was a Sunderland player. He had a fractured left eye socket. He couldn't train for the team for 2 months. Then when he started training, he had an ankle injury that took him out for the rest of the year. So he was released after 6 months with the club, never played for the first team, came back to Houston in 2006. So he was first half of 2005 with Sunderland, never played, fractured left eye socket after getting attacked outside a bar, then an ankle injury. Then he came to Houston to start the 2006 season, so he missed the second half of 2005. I'd forgotten about how he ended up in Houston because of all that.
Yeah, I did not know that.
And then he was with Houston for a bit. After the end of the 2009 season, he moved to Bolton, signed in January of 2010. All
then
right.
had another
Chivas
4
make
years
another
there.
Sub.
Yep. Lone spill Sheffield Wednesday in 2013, but his last 4 years competitively were with Bolton.
Yeah, I mean, the Bolton injuries. He went to Sheffield just trying to get fit. I mean, that's all. Played 4 times.
Yep.
Yeah, his time in Houston was probably the longest run in his career that he didn't have injury issues. You know, you got a couple players like that in U.S. national team history. You got 3 big ones that come to mind that could have completely changed what the national team looked like in that 2008 to 2014 type of time frame. Holden is a big one. If you had Stuart Holden in the middle of the park for the national team, you've got some very different conversations about what the team could do in 2010 and in 2014. John O'Brien is one that if you had him in 2006, it's a very different team. Never could stay healthy. Played at Ajax. I mean, we're talking about a player who was, incredibly talented. You saw a lot of that in 2002, but injuries never allowed him to realize his potential. And then Charlie Davies. I mean, we saw it coming into the end of qualifying for 2010. The 2009 Confederations Cup, if Charlie Davies hadn't had the car accident that changed his life, you're talking about a very different attack potentially for the national team from 2010 to 2014 with Holden, with Davies, maybe with John O'Brien still pulling the strings, at least in the early stage of that. That's 3 key players that the national team lost to injuries. I really liked the stadium that Houston played at the University of Houston, Robertson Stadium.
Yeah.
It worked really well. I mean, it wasn't theirs. You built a great stadium. I like BBVA as well, but Robertson was, I think, decently wide, and it was a pretty cool atmosphere there. I think they had it at first when they moved to BBVA, but they lost it over time as the Kinnear teams kind of ran their course, and then you brought in Owen Coyle, and it just got ponderous for the Dynamo.
Yeah, Robertson is under a different name now, TDECU, where the University of Houston has their on-campus football games, and that was where the Roughnecks played for the XFL. So it is one of the better environments. I mean, it's a nice, smallish kind of a stadium,
like 40,
but it
000?
does. Yeah, I mean, it's a smallish kind of a college football stadium, but it's a great environment, and it's fans can really be right on top of you, and can really serve the home team well.
Yeah, it worked really well for the Dynamo. It was a pretty intense place to play. Oh, that's a bad foul from Chivas.
Went in late. I mean, the ball was gone, and then the foul continued after play had advanced.
A good bit of that in this game.
outside, and Moreno, I'll take my chances, knock it around, see if I can get some more work down the outside, and maybe launch a few up top to Ching to see if I can get another.
84-55 on the game clock. Dynamo trying to find a second. One over the top to Ching. That's a penalty, isn't it? Yes.
Oh, that should be.
What a ball over the top, though. You had to give that one, especially after the one you didn't give before.
No doubt.
That ball over the top, I want to see that again. Perfect. And he gets in between. Now, Ching's really smart. Like, Ching's leaning into that defender. Like, he's making sure there's contact and just gets dragged down. It's really smart from Ching. He knows he might not be able to get there and beat Gazan. So he makes sure that there's contact.
Yeah, leaned into the defender and went down with it.
All right, big moment for Brad Gazan. Dwayne De Rosario at the spot. Here we go. Big save from El Guzano.
Good work by Brad there, going to his left.
Waited it out, waited to see where De Rosario was going with it. Massive save.
Yeah, I want to see the replay and see if De Rosario gives it away with his plant foot. He did. Plant foot was pointing to the right post.
Little bit of shake and bake from Brad on the line.
Yeah. But he was one with the post. But, yeah, Di Rosario gave it away. His left foot planted, and it was pointed to the right post. It's one of the things that I always...
car crash at the top of the six.
Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4 people on the deck. But, yeah, when I look at penalty kicks and replays and things like that, if there's a save by a keeper, one of the first things that I always want to look at is where's the plant foot for the guy taking the penalty. See if he gives it away.
Yeah, the good ones can use that as something to throw you off as too. You know, it doesn't always give it away.
But yeah, to answer your question about Robertson, after it was demolished and then rebuilt in 2016, 40,000 plus standing room only.
Oh, Alejandro Moreno nearly created something.
Go Spartan.
Back when Ale could move.
Yeah.
Brad organizing his defense. It has been it's been all Dynamo in the second half. Chivas got one off the set piece. Dynamo got one. Feels like another goal's coming for Houston. They had their opportunity on the penalty. Chivas just kind of holding on a little bit.
Yep.
Cool sky view shot here. I like that.
I think this is the first time they've gone to that.
Uh-oh. Oh, so poor on that ball coming back.
Oh, scuffed it. Absolutely scuffed it with the left.
Oh. Ante Razov wanted that one back.
It was after this time with Houston that Ali Moreno went to Columbus.
Yep, he won a title in 2008.
Revered, loved, and legend in Columbus. So what can Houston do here with about 20 seconds plus stoppage?
Ching with a little flick. That was nice.
Saw him coming out of the corner of his eye.
That's the thing. Brian Ching, like, I think most people think of him as just a big number 9, but he had good feet. I mean, he was a well-rounded target forward.
See, but watching this, 3 minutes added, but watching this reminds me of all of the things that I was asking you about in this particular game with Ching and with Davis and Di Rosario. It brings all that stuff back about the quality from those three and how they don't get mentioned as much as they should.
Can the Dynamo find something late? They got the second leg at home, so they don't have to risk everything.
Oh, good idea. Couldn't pull it off in between the legs. Chivas just dumping now deep into their offensive third.
It's hard when you're a young team and you're in this moment for the first time. It's hard. It's overwhelming in some ways, and you're playing a good team in Houston. So, you know, as the half went on, they just got pinned deeper and deeper and deeper. And really outside of the break that earned the free kick and converting that, and the last counter that we saw that was a bad pass that ended it, that's been about it for Chivas in the attacking half in the second half.
Yeah. I mean, it's just Houston tilted the field and got to dictate a lot of the action in the second 45. about a minute to go left in stoppage time. And the Chivas USA fans. I guess the easiest way for me to kind of relate to Chivas USA, I mean, think of your college football team, and if the team that you hate the most tried to have another version of themselves in your conference, and what would that be like?
What in the world are you talking about? I have no
Chivas
idea
USA.
where you're going.
Well, with just if Chivas USA and MLS. I mean, think of like if Alabama tried to recreate themselves in another college football conference. I mean, it might be great for that conference, but it won't be great for the fans of everyone of all the other teams other than Alabama.
It's a good try, but no, I can't give you that. That makes no sense. I don't know which is crazier, that or the shake and bake.
Shake and bake!
Oh, there's Aria just falls down.
Oh, that is definite backtracking there.
All right, so that's the end of the first leg of this. We don't have the second leg available to watch, so we'll go ahead and tell you. The Dynamo did move on. Paco Palencia got a red card in the 58th minute for Chivas in the second leg. Brad Davis converted a penalty in the 64th. That made it 2-2. I do believe that away goals were in effect. MLS has gone back and forth about away goals. I think they were in effect at this point, although I'm not 100% sure. Didn't matter because Brian Ching got a 93rd minute goal to give Houston the 2-0 win. And they went on 3-2 on aggregate. They went on to the final. They won the final over the New England Revolution on penalties in 2006. They won the final again in 2007, but Chivas had their best year ever in 2007, where they were the runners-up in the Supporter Shield and the winners in the regular season of the Western Conference. And it never improved from there. If I want to make sure I've got this right. So this was the Bob Bradley time with Chivas. I think it was the end of the season when he took over with the national team. Let me make sure. Yeah. Because let's see. He was named the interim in December of 2006. So not too long after that game we just saw. And that was after Bruce Arena left after the 2006 World Cup. That was poor. Contract negotiations with our good friend Jurgen Klinsmann fell through. So Bradley was named the interim in December. He earned the job full-time in May of 2007. So on the Chivas side, his assistant, Preki, took over and took the team to its best regular season. 15-8-7, 53 points. It was a team that had 2 double-digit goal scorers, and Michael Galindo, the Cuban, 26 years old, who I believe spent some time with Charleston Battery, if I'm not mistaken. Galindo had wheels. He was a lot of fun to watch. He had 12 goals. Razov had 11. Sasha Kleshin, in his first year as a regular starter, had 9 assists. That Chivas 2007 team was really good, but they got knocked out first round of the playoffs by Kansas City. They lost the first leg 1-0, and then couldn't find anything in the second leg, finished scoreless, and they got knocked out 1-0 on aggregate. And that was the tops for Chivas USA. This was this run, the second half of 2006, 2007, that was it. It was all downhill from there.
2008 lost in the conference semis, 12-11-7. 2009 they finished 4th in the West at 13-11-6. Did not finish above 500 for the final 5 years of the franchise.
Yeah, I mean, by that point, it was just how long are you going to let this thing keep going, and not much longer. Brad left after 2008. He moved on to Europe. Interesting times. It was a fun match to watch. It was one that I know I watched. back in the day, but didn't remember specifically. Some of those are kind of fun when you don't remember all of the details of what's coming up. You got a sense of what Chivas USA maybe could have been. You got a sense of why the Dynamo were the Dynamo and were as good as they were for as long as they were. So thanks for joining us. Thanks for sending us some texts and some messages during the game. If you're watching this later, let us know what you think. Would love to get your reactions about Brad Gazan and his first big year with Chivas and some of those kinds of things. So tweet at us at Soccer Down Here. We'll be back with a normal show tomorrow morning. We'll have more watch-alongs along the way as well. We've got some other MLS games to do watch-alongs of, and we'll do some international ones too. Thursday morning is our next one in the morning time slot, and it will be USA-Canada Women's Olympic semifinal. We're going to have a couple special guests joining us for that. Kelly Francis and Jessica Charman will be hanging out with us for that one. So
nice. Looking forward to that.
Will be fun, and that'll be on Thursday. Wednesday be a normal show. Other stuff coming. Make sure you're following us at Soccer Down Here, and that'll do it for this morning. Thanks for spending some time with us. We appreciate it. Much plot, y'all.
Shake and bake, y'all.